Hi viewers, welcome you once again to Micro Learning. This is again Shailaja. So today we are going to see the continuation of the fourth chapter. So we have finished multiplier. You know what is the equation for multiplier. So what is the equation for multiplier? Equation of multiplier is nothing but k is equal to change in y by change in I. So multiplier is represented by k. So we saw what are the assumptions, we saw what are the different types of multipliers, then we saw what are the uses of multipliers, then we saw what are the leakages in the multiplier. So today we are going to continue with consumption function and investment function. Today we are going to see 4.5 to 4.6.1. So today we are going to see on the topic accelerator. Okay, what is accelerator first? Accelerator, generally when we ride a vehicle, we give acceleration. Acceleration is nothing but the speed. So the economy is also speeding up. Maybe investment would have increased. Okay, there may be increase in the demand, increase in the income. All this is happening in the economy. So we can see an acceleration given in the economy. So this is called as accelerator. We call it, in simple meaning, we give it the meaning as speed. So the original acceleration principle can be tracked back by writing. Okay, so let us see who has given accelerating in concept. Okay, Alfred in 1909. After that, it was Hawtrey. Then Bickenbike in 1914. So we can see there are three great economists who have contributed towards acceleration. So, and later on it was developed. Okay, later on it was developed by J.M. Clerk in 1917. So this is regarding the origin of the accelerator. Now further on, what happened? Hickson, Samuelson and Herod. Okay, they have all brought in a relationship saying that this is acceleration depends upon the business cycle. Okay, so always economy speeding up depends upon which trade cycle they are or whichever business cycle they belong to. Okay, so now we are going to see what is the meaning of accelerator. So what is the meaning of accelerator? Okay, so a given increase in the demand for consumption. Okay, there is an increase. What increase we are having? Consumption increases there. When consumption increases, what happens? Automatically there is a demand for goods in the economy, which leads to accelerating demand. Okay, when demand increases, what happens? Machines has to be brought in. If machines has to be brought in, investment has to be done over there. So accelerator is a numerical value of relationship between increase in consumption and the results of increase in investment. Okay, when consumption changes, when investment keeps on increasing, consumption also increasing, because as investment increases, all of us know that income increases, and because of that there is an increase in consumption. So next we are going to see what is the accelerator effect. Okay, first know this formula. What is accelerator? Formula for it is beta is equal to change in I by change in C. So you can see here like an arrow. Okay, accelerator effect. Increase in consumption demand. Okay, films get close to fill capacity. Films invest to meet rising demand. So this is very important. Okay, definitely that is the formula for accelerator. So don't forget the equation for or the formula for accelerator. So what is the formula for accelerator? Beta is equal to change in I by change in C. So let us recall what we have seen in multiplier. Multiplier can be expressed as K is equal to change in Y by change in I. Here you can see change in I by change in C for accelerator. So next we are going to see change in I. Change in I is nothing but change in investment. Okay, for example 100. Now change in consumption. So the consumption is supposed to be 50. So the accelerating effect, the ratio of the net change in investment to change in consumption. Okay, this is, we call it as accelerator. So there's a definition given for accelerator. So what is the definition? The accelerator coefficient is a ratio of induced investment and an initial change in consumption. What do you call it as induced investment? Planned investment. When we are having a planned investment, naturally there will be an initial change in consumption. So there's a small example given here. There's 50 crores of consumption goods being produced in the country. Okay, what happens? There is about investment about 100 crores is done into the economy. So there will be a definite accelerating effect because we can produce more goods and can be brought into market. So how will you calculate it? We have given here 100 crores and we have given here 50 crores. What is this 100 crores? It is on investment. Okay, 50 crores is for consumption. So 100 divided by 50, which is equal to 2 as such. Okay, so why we have divided 100 by 50? Okay, why we have divided the what is the formula telling you? Formula tells you beta is equal to change in I by change in C. So when we call it as change in I by change in C, we have investment is supposed to be 100 crores and consumption supposed to be 50 crores. That is why we get this answer as 2 and we have divided 100 by 50, which is equal to 2. Next one is, we have certain assumptions for Keynes law. Okay, sorry, on accelerator. So here the assumptions are, every concept has assumptions because when they brought in the law and when that was under discussion, many economists, many people have criticized against it because when we see on television small concepts, okay, small incidents taking place, what do people do? 1/6 of them sit together and they discuss about it. They find out the pros and cons of each and every concept and they bring out the truth or reality towards the world. So here also, when accelerator was formulated, we had an assumption: absence of excess capacity in consumption goods. Okay, next is a constant capital output ratio, that is always, that is constant. Increase in demand is assumed to be permanent. This we cannot take into consideration because always demand increases at certain times. Sometimes it may decrease also. So fourth point tells you supply of funds and other inputs is quite elastic. Elastic is nothing but expandable. That is, it can increase. That is the meaning of elastic. The word you have already learnt in 11th standard, where we had price elasticity of demand, perfectly elastic. We had the 5 division. Okay, here we are going to see capital goods. Okay, are perfectly divisible and in any required size. Next one is supposed to be, what is the operating principles of accelerator? So the concept of accelerating principle, it has a diagram, it has an example, it has an explanation. So here we can see an example given. Okay, suppose we have to produce 1000 consumer goods. For example, 1000 books for the consumers. We have 100 machines are required. Okay, so also suppose that the working life, we all of us know the life of the machine will be for 10 years. After that, what happens? It wears and tears. Okay, when it wears and tears, what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to replace the machine because we have targeted 1000 consumer goods. So should the machine be replaced? Yes, definitely the machine has to be replaced because we have targeted for 1000 consumer goods assets. So that should be brought into the market. So we give it to you in the form of a sum. Suppose the consumer goods, okay, suppose the demand for consumer goods is rising. Previously we have seen 1000. Okay. Now there is a 10% increase. Say from 1000 to 1100. So what has to be done? Already we had 10 machines. What has to be done? Because after 10 years all of us know there will be a depreciation. So there is a wear and tear. What happens now? The result in increase in demand for 10 more machines. Okay, we are opting for 10 more machines. So what happens? There are around 20 machines in a particular industry. So it may be noted that 10% increase in demand for consumer good causes 100% increase in demand for machineries. So if we have 10% increase in consumption goods, we have to bring in 100% of change in the machinery. So demand for the machinery. So this we call it as this is an example for a accelerator. Okay, so we are producing 1000 goods. Okay, after 10 years what happened to the machine? It wears and tears, and there is a 10% increase in the demand. So what has to be done? 10 more machine has to be bought. So totally there are 20 machines. From the 20 machines we are supposed to do the production, because there is a demand for 10% increase as such. Next is we are going to see about the diagram. So whenever you see a diagram, first thing you should know what is given on the y-axis and what is given on the x-axis. Can you see on the y-axis what is given? Saving and investment. What is given on the x-axis? It is income. So we can see a red line over here which denotes supply. Here we can see two lines which is denoting investment as such. Okay, this is the first one you should know. What is the S line? It is supposed to be saving line. What is all these I denotes? I denotes investment. So you can see the investment is being increasing. Okay, where it is increasing, I'll show you. It increases from I2 to I3, I3 to I4. So when investment is increasing, look at the income from Y1 to Y2, Y2 to Y3. So investment is increasing. Look at this gap here. Investment is increasing more and more. But when investment increases, it is not necessary to that equal proportion income has to increase. There is no hard and fast rule. Okay. So here we are going to see the explanation. What is this red line shows you? It is supposed to be the supply curve. Next one. Then II. Can you see all these II curves? This one. This is called as the investment curve. Now you can see E1 equilibrium point. Why we call it as equilibrium point? Because we have the Y1, OY1, okay, which is equal at this particular point. Next, saving and investment is equal at OI2. You can go. So here at this particular point you can see that the saving and investment are supposed to be equal to each other. Next one. This increase from OY1 to OY3. Now the income has increased. Look at the income increasing from OY1. The income has increased to Y3. That is towards Y3 as such. So what does it denotes? The equilibrium point has moved from E1 to E3 as such. Is it clear? So we call that as exogenous increase. Now what is happening to the, when it has moved from Y1 to Y2, we call this as multiplier effect. So when the investment has increased, okay, investment has increased from to I4, we call it as exogenous. Because of some external factors, the investment has changed. When investment has changed because of some external factors, exogenous is nothing but external factors. What are the external factors? We can call it as some policy changes or some saving patterns, or even when we are bringing new technologies also, this exogenous changes always takes place. So we saw the movement now. Okay. Next one is but. This diagram, it is assumed that exogenous investment is only from I2 to I3 and investment is from I3 to I4. So what happens to the income? It increases from Y1 to Y2, later on Y2 to Y3. When income increases to Y2 to Y3, we call it as accelerator. When it moves from Y1 to Y2, we call it as multiplier effect as such. So next one, we are going to see what are the limitations of a multiplier. What are the limitations of multiplier? Okay, it assumes, that is the assumptions. What has happened to it? It is constant. They are saying capital output area is not realistic. It is supposed to be unrealistic, they say. Resources are available only before full employment. But once we reach full employment, there is no utilization of resources. Excess capacity on capital good industries. And the fourth one says acceleration will work only if increased demand is permanent. Okay, these are all limitation. Accelerator will work only when credit is available easily. And the last one says if there is unused or excess capacity, what happens to the consumer goods? The accelerating principle would not work, because if you are going to produce more and more, that's not going to have any impact on the, that is, it is not going to give you any consumption of goods, because it's going to be a waste. So there is a limitation as far as acceleration is concerned. So these are there are 6 limitations of an accelerator. Okay. Next we are going to see what is super multiplier. Super multiplier is nothing but a combination of multiplier and accelerator. Okay. K represents multiplier. Beta represents accelerator. This combination put together only we call it as super multiplier. So if anyone asks you what is super multiplier, it is nothing but a combination of multiplier and accelerator. So they have given here mathematically, when we combine these two, we call it as super multiplier. And there is a called as leverage effect. The leverage effect in your textbook is not given much, because you should know the formula for leverage effect. Okay. So what is leverage effect? It's a combined effect of the multiplier and accelerator. Again, like super multiplier itself, it is called as leverage effect, which may lead to economy with very high or low level. Okay. So either you go to the highest level or you go to the lowest level because of the leverage effect. So you can represent that symbolically. Y is equal to C plus I to the base A, that is investment, I to the base P as such. What does IA represent? A always represents autonomous investment, and this is supposed to P represents private investment as such. So this is a formula for our leverage effect. So what is Y representing? What is C representing? IA representing? IP representing? So they have given, these are all supposed to be the summarization of this particular chapter. So in this chapter, what and all we have learned? We have learned about consumption function. Okay. Then we saw about the average average fixed cost, average variable cost. You have learnt about